This video is brought to you by Surfshark. Stick around to hear more about the special offer they're providing to the entire Upper Echelon community. Okay, just to make something clear right off the bat, this isn't a review of the game because I'm not done with it yet. Later on when I'm finished, I definitely will make a final review, but for right now I want to talk about the controversy surrounding this game, if you can even call it that, because a lot of people are idiots, and I tried to stay quiet because telling the idiots that they are in fact idiots usually causes them to harass you. But considering the fact that the original Kingdom Come Deliverance game was a pretty big moment for my entire channel, I figured what the hell, I might as well just do it. Here's the background. Kingdom Come Deliverance, developed by Warhorse Studios, is an open-world, story-driven RPG which was almost universally praised when it first came out in 2018. I played it, I loved it, and I also got to see in real time how the game was attacked for somehow failing to conform in terms of modern expected narrative themes. As an example of that, we can look at Eurogamer, which essentially panned the game, saying, quote, "There's also a big problem. There are no people of color in the game," end quote. Even going on to individually target the game's creative director, Daniel Vavra, calling him a vocal supporter of Gamergate, and doubling down on the idea that exclusion is a form of racism. Ergo, Kingdom Come Deliverance, by not having more black people, de facto makes the game racist. That is quite obviously on its face absurd, especially when you consider the fact that the setting for this game is the medieval kingdom of Bohemia, which was not a diverse place in any sense of the modern word. But the thing that I want to focus on is a top-down expectation of control. If you want a much more recent example of this phenomenon, look no further than Hogwarts Legacy, which was boycotted because of J.K. Rowling's allegedly transphobic opinions, but that boycott, and there's huge air quotes around that word, ultimately failed to impact the game whatsoever, as it went on to become a massive commercial success because it was a good game. See, that's really what people care about in this industry. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions, obviously, but what people truly want is a good, well-made, fun gameplay experience, and if they get one, they don't really care about the politics or the social issues. Take Baldur's Gate 3, for example. That game has a metric ton of what people refer to as woke narrative options, especially in the romance category, but the sheer depth of choice, the scale of the world, the amount of options that you have on what or when or why you do something is practically unparalleled in the entire gaming industry, which completely overrides any sort of outrage campaign, because when you peel back all of the individual layers, what people really want, that is, the people that actually play the games, is just a good, well-made, enjoyable experience. To be clear, I can fully understand why people get upset if it feels like a game was somehow sacrificing a piece of its core identity for the purpose of pushing social and political narratives. God knows, The Last of Us 2 is a brutal example of that in my opinion, and I've made that argument myself in the past several times for different titles. But hopefully by the end of this video, I'll be able to showcase that this, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, really isn't one of those cases. Kingdom Come Deliverance, the original, despite being an undeniably successful product, was vocally criticized by a small group of people over its lack of in-game diversity. But 7 years later, with the sequel, it's now being criticized by the flip side of that very same coin, a smaller group of extremely vocal people, not for its lack of diversity or inclusion, but rather because of it, primarily its inclusion of certain romance options, which is one of the most painful displays of self-exposing idiocy that I've possibly ever seen in my time on YouTube. So lately, I've been trying to get creative with how I introduce video sponsors, but honestly, the most straightforward way to do it is to say that the video is brought to you by Surfshark, which is a VPN service. And if you want a VPN, they have a big discount for the community while also supporting the channel. VPNs have a bunch of different uses and functions, though I do think it's important to understand that they're not a unilateral cybersecurity catch-all solution. They have a lot of benefits, but if you go to a bunch of sketchy websites and download a bunch of sketchy files without thinking, you're still going to be at risk while doing that. But what they can do, though, is help prevent certain types of phishing attacks, DNS tunneling, DDoS attacks in particular. And they also help prevent some of the data tracking / harvesting practices by big tech companies, which are basically an omnipresent standard now. For people that care more about entertainment, Surfshark unlocks additional content on streaming websites, a bunch of them, by changing your geographic region, which opens up additional options in your video library. Surfshark also gets around regional censorship, websites being blocked in your region by, for example, a government, and it helps protect your IP address with encryption, modification, and more. I say this every time, but Surfshark operates completely separate infrastructure from NordVPN, and Surfshark also maintains a warrant canary. Most people don't know or care what that is, but they have it. If you click the link down below, surfshark.com/echelon, you can get 4 extra months for free with a special pricing offer. Again, link down below, surfshark.com/echelon for an extra 4 months of the service for free with a special offer. Big thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring the channel. So what are people mad about? Well, there's a few things, but mostly people are angry that the game contains a romance option where Henry, the main character that you play, can sleep with Hans, his friend. On a personal note, I think Hans is just a completely obnoxious character. So in my playthrough, I'm insulting him and calling him pretentious or insignificant is a specific one that comes to mind every single chance I get. Obviously, I'll never experience the romance dialogue because I deliberately tank my reputation with him. But even if you tried to find this dialogue on purpose, it's one scene in a game that has like over 100 hours of content. The thing is, people really care about this, and the rumors about this game being woke have been circulating since well before it ever released. Here's some slop article right here about how the game is reportedly banned in Saudi Arabia, which says, quote, "It seems like the highly anticipated title is promoting an agenda via unskippable cutscenes, which has caused Saudi Arabia to ban it in the country," end quote. But if you have any understanding of this franchise whatsoever, you would know that 0 cutscenes in either product, the first or the second one, are unskippable, not to mention the fact that the game has not actually been banned in Saudi Arabia. Still, truth be damned, now that the game is finally released, you have people like this guy. Quote, "Gamers, our boycott against Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is working. Huge victory. The game is already trending down a mere 7 hours after launch. Get woke, go broke. Gamers are tired of LGBTQ propaganda in games," end quote. Except, wait a second, because he took the snapshot when people were going to bed, which is a cycle that you can see borne out on every single game on all of Steam. Since that day, the game has reached progressively new concurrent high player counts every single day afterward, so far peaking at almost 250,000 at one time. In the first 24 hours, the game sold over 1 million copies, which is twice as many in half the time compared to the original, by the way. And when you contrast that with its development budget, which was something like $40 million for the sequel, the game is already earning tens of millions in profit very easily. You might be thinking, well, that guy was probably joking because no one is that stupid. But you'd be wrong, because he doubled down the next day saying, quote, "Guess what? Kingdom Come 2 is trending downwards again, LOL. I don't think this game is turning a profit anytime soon. Get woke, go broke, 100% non-binary," as like a little stupid joke, end quote. Once again, you're probably thinking no one on planet Earth is that fucking stupid, but you'd be wrong, because this guy contributes to a publication. I don't know if I should call it a publication. That sounds way too legitimate for them. But he contributes to a thing which writes articles like this: "Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 features graphic depiction of child," that right there, bad stuff, which is quite shocking, to be honest. And this article was followed up with a statement that reads, quote, "Watching the entire anti-woke movement rally in unison against the horrible woke fest that is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a beautiful sight to behold," end quote. Strong stuff, man. Very, very compelling, yeah. Well, the Fandom Pulse Substack, which is what he contributes to, is run by this guy, who claims to be a #1 best-selling author by standing for Christian values. And it turns out he's got a massive thread about how the game is an insult to Christians and gamers. What's more, this entire narrative about the game being woke is propped up and perpetuated by other influencers as well as YouTubers, like this dumbass, who has an entire video about how Warhorse Studios, which was acquired in 2019 by THQ Nordic, which is itself a subsidiary of Embracer Group, was commanded to put the woke agendas in their game. No joke, because a random guy on Twitter posted an extremely obvious and sarcastic troll tweet. Even better, these three, shitsketeers, doubled and tripled down on the idea that Hans, who the character can romance for a skippable cutscene, is 15, because a codex entry says underage in it and gives a historically accurate description of who he was in the real world. Just one issue with that part: the entire game is motion captured by actors who are like 30 plus years old, because the video game adaptation has aged them up deliberately like 15 years. And these characters, Henry as well as Hans, have been sleeping around in bathhouses and romancing love interests since the start of the very first game. You actually get a massive buff to your character by sleeping with people, and that's been true this entire time. Notice how the outrage is only focused on the fact that Henry sleeps with Hans, and the supposed underage nature of that relationship, and not the bazillions of women that Hans slept with across the franchise so far. On top of that, since we're apparently using the Codex as our immutable truth doctrine, and thus using it to say that the game is showing illegal material, which they've directly claimed. Another one of the game's characters, Sir Markvart, according to this Codex, died in 1402, which is a year before the game supposedly takes place. Obviously, this means that Codex entries can't be taken at face value because the development team have indisputably deviated from them in both a literal and creative sense. There's this bizarre and spreading narrative right now that Kingdom Come Deliverance is a Christian game betraying the gamers. But that's like saying that a rock song which talks about Christianity is a Christian rock song. Christian rock, by the way, is its own genre, obviously. And just because a song decided to talk about a Christian setting or Christian themes or Christianity in general, it doesn't turn the final product into a whole new genre. Remember that earlier example, Hogwarts Legacy. With Hogwarts Legacy, a group of, I'm trying to not be overly insulting right now, a group of extremely dishonest people who really had no actual interest in the game itself attempted to boycott the product because they didn't like some sort of perceived social slight against them, and they failed completely because the game was good. With Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, a group of extremely dishonest people are attempting to boycott the product because they don't like some sort of perceived slight against their worldview, in this case, a gay romance scene, and they're failing. Remember how everyone laughed at the idiots who were angry over Hogwarts Legacy? I mean, like, we all laughed at them, okay? Yeah, that's you. That's the people boycotting Kingdom Come Deliverance. That is you. We're laughing at you, just like we laughed at them. You are idiots like they are idiots, okay? Don't be an idiot. At the end of the day, it's the exact same basic phenomenon, just new flavors. You can decide for yourself whether or not it's better or worse, but let's not pretend it's wildly different. Two groups of people, for different reasons, decided that a video game should conform to their worldview. To make that happen, they're inventing things and stretching the truth, trying to bludgeon those around them socially into conforming. And I'm not sure about all of you, but I'm kind of a contrarian, obviously. So when someone starts using deceptive tactics to make me do or think whatever they want, I don't respond very well to it. It doesn't matter if it's a puritanical movement that doesn't want games to feature any of the choices that they disagree with, or if it's some sort of diversity quota that seems hell-bent on supplanting existing narratives to push their ideology, which is also bad. Because for me, both of these groups are equally frustrating when they gain power and do this dumb shit to the games that I like. A lot has changed in the past few years, and now it's a little bit surreal watching the anti-woke types suddenly start doing and saying all these things that are so closely echoing what their woke enemies did before them. Hopefully we can all get a little bit more self-awareness from this, because doing all the things that you used to cry out against is probably not the solution. Bottom line, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has nothing to do with woke ideology. I've played it for like 40 or so hours so far, encountered literally none of that stuff, with the weirdest thing being a bandit who said trust but verify, which made me sort of laugh because I think that's a Ronald Reagan quote maybe. And the people who are outraged over this are a joke. Their logic is non-existent. I mean, maybe they're just doing it for profit, which seems more and more likely because, I mean, intellectually, no one can defend the positions that these people are taking to criticize this game. Like, it's indefensible, but whatever. They're just a new, morally self-obsessed version of the same problem that video games have been grappling with for so many years, which is people that don't even play the games trying to dictate what's in those games. It is, with as much emphasis as I can possibly put on this word, dumb. It is dumb. That's it. If you want to support the channel, check out the links down below. The video sponsor, of course, Locals and Patreon for monthly memberships, merchandise, social media, etc., etc. But I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, question everything, and have a nice night.